So let's start with the daily graphic and the lead story. It says YE empowers the 600,000 Ghanaians. President Akufo-Addo commends the agency.
Tell me more about that.
So, the government has estimated that over 100,000 beneficiaries of the Youth Employment Agency have positively impacted the livelihoods of over 500,000 individuals. In the last 4 years, the agency was set up, among other things, to work towards reducing youth unemployment through skills development, monetary assistance, and startups to enable the youth create employment for themselves and others.
It'll be important for us to know how they've impacted these lives.
To link it with the Ghana Statistical Service recent data, about almost 1.9 million persons are unemployed, uneducated, and they are idle. And how do we make sure that these programs actually impact those who matter? And it is a big issue.
No, the bit about the 8 billion Ghana cedis that's supposed to help assist SMEs, if properly done, will be the game changer.
Yeah.
You see, because the evidence available suggests that some actually say 60, some say 70, some say 80. So the research says between 60 to 80% of new jobs are created by existing companies. Between 60 to 80% of new jobs are created by existing companies. And they're created by existing companies because, look, if you have a business right now, you learn lessons every day. And at a point in time when you have learned, maybe some technical skills, or you have access to funding and you want to expand, it's easier for you to expand and actually get more people on. But even without funding, for instance, as you continue and as you implement effective management skills over a long period of time, you may want to expand. And as you think of expanding, it also means you must employ more people. And so when it comes to the services sector, we see people, businesses opening branches. As they open new branches, it means they must employ new people. So 60 to 80% of new jobs are created by existing companies. So it's important you assist existing companies, be it with capacity building, or be it with funding, so they can create more jobs.
And Winston, for me, the bigger question here is it just a funding issue? Because also, if the business environment is not conducive, they will start the job and they will still struggle to be in business. And
Fantastic.
For me, it's important that the bit about the skill set, the technical support, and ensure that there are special schemes for these startups, even the tax breaks and all those things. If they are subjected, a company that has been in existence for about 20 years or 10 years, it won't be the same as a 2-year company that is a year or 2 years, because in terms of the tax environment and other things and filing of annual returns and all those things, they could struggle. So can we have a situation where for these startups, for instance, there's a special environment or some tax breaks and all those things for them, so that they'll be able to withstand those gradual turbulence at the initial stage, and whilst they expand, they can still stay in operation, flourish, expand, employ more people, then later meet their tax obligations.
You're very right, because look, it's not just about funding, it's also about the regulatory environment.
Yeah.
A lot of things would come to play. Do they have the right skills and all of that? So, well, let's get into other stories.
Okay, other stories as well. Ghana Revenue Authority exceeds mid-year target, and it's open that they'll be able to hit that end-of-year target for this year. Interesting numbers. And Winston, you will see revenue as one of our biggest challenges in the country. In our debt situation, this whole thing about expenditure, there are some of the school of thought that if we are able to raise the required revenue, then we can deal with this debt overhang and then rising expenditure. Some are also saying that, listen, it's rather the other way. You need to be prudent with what you spend. You spend what you've raised. So the argument that, if you raise more revenue, then our expenditure challenge and debt issues will be solved, that is debatable. But whichever way you want to look at it, look at the fact that, listen, one of the reasons why we were recently downgraded was the fact that we were not raising the required revenue, looking at the size of our economy. So if those new numbers are anything to go by, then indeed it gives us some comfort that we may be gradually dealing with that challenge of our low tax GDP ratio, that if you look at the size of our economy, we are not raising the required revenue to show that indeed this is the size of our economy. Some would also argue that, listen, how did the GRA get there? Some have argued that the approach that they've used to mobilize these taxes and all the rest, and some businesses are so struggling. But for me, it's good for the work that they're doing, and they deserve to be commended. And been hoping that we will be able to raise or deal with this debt issue and low revenue and all these development partners and the concerns that they are raising, that we are not doing enough when it comes to raising the required revenue to finance our expenditure.
Someone just sent me a message. I don't have his permission to mention his name. If he gives me the permission, I'll mention his name. He says, since we like calculating a lot of things in dollars, maybe we should start converting revenue into dollars also. So, so at the time we set the target, how much was it in dollars? And now that we've been able to, we say we've exceeded it, we also should ask ourselves how much it is in dollars, particularly because of how we calculate even import duties in this country. And I mean, George, if you decided to change your vehicle today and went and imported a vehicle into this country, they certainly would look at the value in dollars and calculate everything for you. In fact, sometimes the import VAT that you have to pay is a lot of money. Look, sometimes the import. So I mean, we can talk about the fact that the VAT may be
So you think that the dollar component as well might have impacted in terms of the city numbers that we are quoting?
It certainly would have impacted. It certainly would have impacted. It's something we cannot run away from. Okay, we can never run away from the fact that the depreciation of the Ghana cedi also impacts all of these things. Because why?
But if you listen to the Ghana Revenue Authority, they talk about how they have implemented some VAT measures in terms of when it comes to automation of the collections and all the rest when it comes to VAT, and how that has played a significant role.
Look. In September 2023, somebody imported a vehicle into this country. The import duty that was actually 18,000. The import VAT, George, was 30,000. Now pay attention. The import duty was 18,000. The import VAT 30,000. Okay, that's not all. You had to pay. I mean, you had to pay other things, and then you get into NHIL 4,000. Import NHIL 4,862. Same with get fund. So all I'm trying to say is that let's find out. That's why it's important.
We shouldn't discount the FX or foreign
yes. It also plays a role.
So another story on Daily Graphics says Tertiary Business School Challenge launched, and President nominates 2 to the Supreme Court. And the story here says that President Akufo-Addo has disclosed that he has nominated 2 persons to the Supreme Court as a replacement for 2 retiring justices of the High Court of the land. He said that the 2 are Court of Appeal Judge Justice Sophia Benasco, and then a senior lecturer in law at the York University, Toronto, and fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Science, and Professor Richard Frimpong, who has gone through the Judicial Council and Judicial Secretary and will soon be subjected to the interrogation of Parliament before we're able to appoint them. So these are retiring justices that he's replacing, and not necessarily that 5 justices that we had some time ago. Daily Guide also, GRA says they are on course to achieve the 146 billion Ghana cedis tax target. Land Ministry exposes Ablakwa over sale of state land, and ex-store boss extradited to U.S. for bribery. Also, we have Professor Yanka takes on Sami Jemfi, and that is C, page 6, and also VIP commends IGP for police transformation.
Now, the Ghanaian Times for this morning, let me start off with the Volta Lake level at the Akosombo Dam. And so last year, on the 17th of July, the level was 265.78. Now, yesterday, it was 264.65. So there's actually being a reduction now. Okay, in the past, there was a lot of increase in the levels. Now there's a reduction. And I'm sure it's a bit of, because we've been talking about spillage and its impact, good that we had, the water levels coming down a little bit. Then, SC, that's Supreme Court defers ruling on anti-gay bill injunction until judgment on substantive case. That was something
So
that
I remember one of my
transpired
friends called me yesterday and it was like, so the crack is saying, I said, I'll get back to you.
yesterday. No, the crowd is they're continuing with the case. Once they feel that ruling on the substantive case solves everything.
Which
so
is, so if the substantive case would be heard in January 2025.
they're hearing it. They said, they would hear it.
Uh-huh.
They would expedite action on it, hear it, and then, issue their ruling. Yeah.
Okay.
But this one also, regulate use of honorary doctorate titles. So Deputy Minister of Education, Professor Nyako, is talking about the use of honorary doctorate degrees, for instance. And so a lot of people get honorary doctorate degrees, and the next moment you call him, he says, I am Doctor this. No.
But I thought the as stand to be educated, the convention is that if it's an honorary doctorate, you don't use it.
Yes,
right?
you don't use it. Yes.
But it's when you've earned it academically, if I can even use that expression, then you are required to use
Exactly.
it. I mean, there are some people even who PhD that they don't use it. I mean,
Of course.
when you go to the IMF, I mean, there are lots of people at their headquarters that they don't even put it on their complimentary card, even in their statement. Stefan Rode, he's a PhD holder. He's a doctor.
Oh yeah.
I have not seen, and I'm saying that maybe it's in our region that some would say that listen, I mean, I won't say certain things on there, but even to go through an MPhil, the struggle you go through, and even to do the PhD itself. So sometimes it's also, is it what it's in psychology they'll say that, let's recognize the person and all the rest.
Yes, I mean, look, if you want to be known as a doctor,
go to school and get it.
go and work for it. Today, people have introduced professional doctorates.
Yeah.
So you can still go to school and do a doctor degree in business administration.
But then I'm told you cannot lecture with that one, right? Yeah.
Yes, you cannot lecture with that, but some schools still could get you to lecture. So you can get that also. There are a lot of professional doctorates. Even there's a professional doctorate degree in journalism in some universities in the United Kingdom, in England. You can go there if you want to be known as a doctor.
In an era where some people are saying that it's better to get a Dutch passport than,
I know. But government steps up youth employment agenda as it plans to support security services to absorb YEA beneficiaries. The Finder newspaper says GRA bags 68 billion in 6 months, 37.6 nominal growth over the same period last year. President commends YEA promises to enhance its appeal. Ghana Publishing opens first regional office in Kumasi. 120-bed state-of-the-art Fomina and Kumehu hospitals commissioned finally. And President appoints COP Yohuno as Deputy IGP. I've seen lots of people asking the question whether we've actually done Deputy IGPs in the past. Yes, we've done Deputy IGPs before. There's this female who acted as IGP when Professor Mills took over until IGP Tewia Kwe became substantive IGP. She was Deputy IGP. So that's something we've done before. Under PK Champion, we had Deputy IGPs. So it's not a new thing having Deputy IGPs. But of course, even within the police service, a lot of people who knew that COP Yohuno was more or less like number two. MyJoyOnline.com this morning says Ghana Medical Association calls for cancellation of certificate and diploma nursing courses. You may want to, check that. University of Ghana embraces gender inclusivity with revised statutes, and COP Yohuno is qualified, but timing is questionable. That's according to Adam Bona on Deputy IGP appointment. Parliamentary Chair Yine takes responsibility for controversial ally allowing MPs to use sirens. And Volta Youth demands UHAS withdraw honorary doctorate for Akufo-Addo.
I mean, forget about the personality involved here, but isn't it the prerogative of the university to decide who they want to give an honorary doctorate?
Of course, the university council will decide.
So,
well, anyway,